guys, I hope you're doing well, and if you don't know, my name is Brittany and I film videos based around the paranormal and mythological beings. So if that's something that you think might interest you, quickly go ahead and click that subscribe button and we're going to dive right into the topic. So today's topic I am very excited to talk about. It's something that I absolutely love, and that is dragons. Now, diving into this, I actually found out some things that I didn't know personally, which I always love to find out new information. So to me, that's awesome. But I'm going to share all of that with you right now. The legends of dragons actually dates back to 4000 BC. They appear in many early Mesopotamian cultures, along with many other ancients in the Near East. Have rich histories of mighty gods saving people from evil giant serpents. Now, these serpents often have astonishing features like fluorescent skin to the ability to breathe fire and fly. It seems that a dragon is any form of serpent that is especially fearsome in nature. And the word dragon is actually derived from the word drakon, which means serpent or sea serpent. Now, many dragons are considered evil, but that's not always the case. There are many times where dragons are considered benevolent and very knowledgeable creatures. Depending on the dragon, they can live almost anywhere, from the middle of the earth to the depths of the ocean. They can also be found in caves, fire, and anywhere that is simply dark and damp. Now, some people do believe that dragons are actually confused with the finds of dinosaur fossils. During the time of dragons in England, anyone who killed a dragon was instantly awarded knighthood. And in ancient Rome, dragons were thought to hold the mysteries of the earth. Now, the amount of toes on a dragon is actually quite significant. There are many 3-toed dragons, and 4-toed dragons were said to be earth dragons. However, 5-toed dragons were the most respected of them all. Only kings and queens were allowed to wear pictures of them. And if a peasant was seen wearing that symbol, he would immediately be put to death. In early culture, dragons were seen as these fearsome or benevolent beasts that were very difficult to kill. Eastern cultures often saw dragons as very knowledgeable creatures that had the power over storm or water. They also saw the dragon as a very powerful and benevolent creature that could ward off evil. Now, Western cultures were the complete opposite. They saw dragons as these evil beasts that enjoyed killing and chaos. Many dragons were depicted in living in places that were perilous for men to venture. They were often thought to guard hoards of treasure. Now, dragons were actually thought to be wingless in both cultures before the medieval ages. During this time, the Western cultures changed their portrayal of dragons, while the Eastern cultures actually continued their tradition. There are so many different myths surrounding dragons, you guys. One is that dragon's blood actually held special properties. Like, if you were to dip the tip of your sword in dragon's blood, anybody that you had stabbed, that wound would not heal. No matter what, it just wouldn't heal. Another thing was that dragon's blood was supposed to give you visions of the future. And in Eastern culture, it was actually believed that dragons could change their shape and their size at will, and that they could even turn into a human for short periods of time whenever they felt like it. Now, back in the time of Christopher Columbus, dragons were very feared. During this time, the world was believed to be flat, and it was said that these dragons were at the edge of the earth just waiting for anyone that dared to travel that far and devour them. So this story actually kept so many people from wanting to explore those parts of the world. Maps were even made marking the places where these dragons were said to live. And the words, "Here be dragons," were almost always printed. Now, dragons have appeared consistently in mythology, so we're going to dive into some. the Meshusu was an attendant of the gods. He was an ancient dragon in Mesopotamian culture. This creature was said to live in the Babylonian palaces until he met his end by the prophet Daniel. Now, as the story goes, the Babylonian priest took Daniel to the temple of Bel and showed him this magnificent dragon. Upon seeing the creature, he challenged the dragon's invisible god to his living god, and eventually ended in him poisoning the dragon, which is, I feel like, not the right way to do anything. Then the next one is about Apep. Now, Apep is considered to be this giant serpent who was the greatest enemy of the sun god Ra. He was known to be an evil deity who embodied chaos and destruction, but he was also one of the most important symbols in Egyptian culture. Some sources claim that Apep stretched 16 yards in length. Now, Apep was associated with the underworld, and it was thought that the sun set at night and rose in the morning to signify the times which Ra would ascend into the underworld and battle with Apep to protect the people above. And it is also said that Apep's battles with Set were supposed to be what thunderstorms were. Now, another one is about Vitra. Now, Vitra is a giant dragon that comes from early Vedric religion. Not really sure how to pronounce that one. But he is thought to be an evil entity, and he's the personification of drought. Now, legend has it that Vitra was the firstborn of the dragons, and Vitra's enemy was actually Indra, who was this benevolent deity, and she was seen as a very protective god. Vitra is known to block the corners of the rivers that were vital to the people, and he would hold the waters hostage until he was eventually slain by Indra. Now, a very popular dragon is the Leviathan. Now, lore tells us that the Leviathan was a terrible serpent that stretched around 300 miles in length. He had armored scales that fit so tightly that no air could get through. He also had glowing skin and eyes, and he was also able to breathe fire. Now, at one point, it was actually believed that there were two Leviathans, one male and one female. However, shortly after their creation, they were corrupted, and eventually the female had to die, so their child wouldn't devour the world. Now, legend tells us that Yahweh will battle the serpent in the end of days, defeat the serpent once and for all. So the Leviathan is actually mentioned in the Bible, in the book of Job, chapter 41, and it states, its back has rows of shields, tightly sealed together. Each is so close to the next that no air can pass through. They are joined fast to one another. They cling together and cannot be parted. Its eyes are like rays of dawn. Flames stream from its mouth. Sparks of fire shoot out. Smoke pours from its nostrils as from a boiling pot over burning reeds. Its breath sets coals ablaze, and flames dart from its mouth. Now, another famous dragon is Typhon. Now, Typhon was a serpent monster that was created by Zeus's mother. Typhon rose up and terrorized the gods on Mount Olympus, and he was almost unstoppable. However, Zeus and some of his siblings band together and defeated the dragon. Now, hydras are also considered dragons, but if you don't know what a hydra is, a multi-headed serpent. Now, hydras were thought to be invincible because when you cut off one of its head, two others would appear in its place. And it was said that one of the heads were actually immortal. Now, there was said to be a hydra living in the Lake of Lerna. So at the time, the Lake of Lerna was thought to be the entrance to the underworld. So this dragon was eventually overcome by Hercules, who killed it by cutting off its heads and cauterizing the wounds, and then he took the immortal head and buried it under the ground. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Disney and Hercules because of my Megara shirt, but so anyways, another famous dragon comes from medieval times. And it comes from the 12th century. Now, a warlord by the name of Vortigern was trying to build a tower on Mount Snowdon. And he wanted to build this tower as protection from the Anglo-Saxons. He was very unsuccessful in this. Every time the tower was constructed, the ground would swallow it up. Now, the child prophet Merlin, which Merlin is a very famous figure. He's supposed to be the most powerful wizard of all time, so most of you probably know who Merlin is, but he informed the warlord that the reason his tower wouldn't stand up was because there's a pool directly beneath it. And in that pool lay 2 sleeping dragons, one red and one white. Vortigern had the pool drained and the 2 dragons woke up. Now, as soon as they were exposed to the surface, the 2 dragons started fighting. And Merlin prophesied that the white dragon would prevail over the red dragon, symbolizing England's conquest of Wales. However, he also tells that the red dragon would eventually return to defeat the white dragon. The white dragon won, as Merlin prophesies. Now, in Europe, there was a tale of St. George and the dragon, and it is one of the most popular ones in Europe. Now, this story begins with the plight of the city Selene. The city of Selene was plagued by a dragon who was devouring their sheep herds. They fought the beast until the beast had killed a young shepherd. So they came up with a plan where they would leave 2 sheep by the lake in order to satisfy the dragon's hunger. Now, eventually, this plan didn't work any longer because all of the sheep were gone. So then they started sacrificing their own children by a random lottery. Now, with the random lottery, the king's daughter was actually drawn. And despite the king's protests, the princess still had to be tied up to be sacrificed to the dragon. As the princess is tied up, waiting for the dragon to devour her, St. George just happened to wander by and see this young girl tied. So he waited for the dragon to appear. As the dragon went for the girl, he used his sword, a scallion, and stabbed the dragon. And then he used the girdle of the princess as a lead for the beast. So St. George and the princess led the now docile dragon into town and told the town that if the St. George would only slay the beast if they converted to Christianity. The people agreed, and St. George slayed the beast. The last example I have from you comes from Norse mythology. The Midgard serpent was actually a child of Loki, and the evil serpent is known to fight with Thor, and in the end of days, they will battle to the death. Now, the Midgard serpent is said to be so large that it can wrap itself around the world and grasp its tail between its teeth. And it's said that when the serpent decides to let go of its tail with its teeth, that will be the end of the world. This creature actually inspired Vikings to put dragon heads on their longships, which is pretty cool. There's obviously so many more legends about dragons. Again, I didn't even touch the tip of the iceberg, and I still told you guys quite a few. These ones were just a few that I picked for you guys. Maybe if you guys are interested, I will do a second video just based off of Legends of Dragons and dive into a few other ones. I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys believe in dragons? I think it's pretty crazy that they did start off not having wings. And I want to know your guys' thoughts on all of that. So definitely reach out to me. And if you guys have any ideas of what you want to hear next, or you would like me to do a video on, any topics, all the information to connect with me will be right down below. I would love to hear from you. And if you liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you have not subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. It would mean the world to me. And I hope that you guys have a great day. And I will see you next time.